At 28, Daniel looked like he had already won. A respected degree, a stable corporate job, an $85,000 salary, a life his parents proudly talked about at every family gathering. From the outside, everything looked perfect. He had done exactly what he was told to do. Study hard, get good grades, find a stable job, build a secure life, and he did all of it. But every Sunday night, something felt off. Not panic, not failure. Just a quiet, suffocating feeling he couldn't explain. The kind that doesn't scream, but slowly drains you. Like he had followed every rule, checked every box, and still ended up somewhere he didn't choose. Daniel wasn't lazy. He wasn't confused. And he definitely wasn't ungrateful. He did everything right. Graduated near the top of his class, landed a job straight out of university, showed up early, stayed late, delivered results. He was reliable, consistent, predictable, exactly the kind of person the system rewards. But deep down, he was stuck. Not financially broken, but not free either. He had about $7,000 in savings, a job that drained more energy than it gave, and a routine that felt like it was slowly closing in on him. And then came the realization he couldn't ignore anymore. He knew how to work, but he didn't know how to grow. He knew how to follow instructions, but not how to create opportunities. He had been educated, but he had not been prepared. One afternoon, his company hosted a guest speaker. Most people expected the usual: slides, statistics, corporate cliches. Instead, a man in his early 60s walked in with no notes, no presentation, and no interest in impressing anyone. He looked around the room calmly, like he already knew something they didn't. And then he asked a single question. How many of you have read a nonfiction book in the last 30 days that nobody told you to read? Out of 40 people, only 4 hands went up. The rest of the room stayed still. Some people avoided eye contact. Others shifted in their seats. He paused, letting the silence do the work. Then he nodded slowly. And that's exactly why most of you will still be sitting in these same chairs 10 years from now. No anger, no judgment, just certainty. And somehow, that made it hit harder. After the talk, people went back to their routines, but Daniel didn't. That question stayed with him. It bothered him in a way he couldn't ignore, because deep down, he knew the answer wasn't about books. It was about ownership. So he did something he normally wouldn't do. He walked up to the speaker. No plan, no script, just honesty. He told him everything. The degree, the job, the salary, the savings, and that quiet, constant feeling of being stuck. The man listened carefully. No interruptions, no quick advice. Then he said something simple but uncomfortable. You were trained to operate inside a system, but nobody taught you how to build one. Daniel frowned. That sentence didn't sound complicated, but it felt heavy. What's the difference? He asked. The man replied, everything. Then after a pause, self-education. That night didn't change Daniel's life instantly. There was no breakthrough moment, no sudden burst of motivation, just a quiet shift in perspective. When he got home, he didn't turn on the TV. He didn't open social media. He just stood there for a moment, looking around his apartment differently. Not at what he owned, but at what he had ignored. His eyes stopped at the bookshelf. 6 books, all bought with intention, all left unread. He picked one up, not because he felt inspired, but because for the first time, he felt responsible. He started small, 10 pages a day. That was it. Every morning, before touching his phone, before the noise, before the notifications, before the world started pulling his attention in every direction. Just quiet focus. And at first, it felt slow, almost too simple to matter. But he kept going, because for once, he wasn't chasing motivation. He was building discipline. He didn't read for entertainment. He read for leverage. Topics no one had taught him. Pricing psychology, negotiation, human behavior, financial systems, business models, concepts that explained how money actually moved, how decisions were made, how value was created and captured. Things that made the real world make sense. Then he added something even more powerful, a notebook. Every night, 10 minutes. Not writing about his day, but about his thinking. What did I learn today? Where did I miss value? What would I do differently next time? At first, the answers were basic, but over time, they became sharper, more honest, more strategic. Every Sunday morning, he reviewed everything, and something interesting started to happen. Patterns appeared, mistakes repeated themselves until they didn't, and slowly, his thinking began to change. 6 months later, something shifted. At work, he noticed something he had seen 100 times before, but never questioned. The company's pricing model. It didn't make sense. It left money on the table. Before, he would have ignored it. That wasn't his job. But now, he saw things differently, so he did something uncomfortable. He built a simple proposal, nothing fancy, just clear logic. He presented it, they tested it, and it worked. His bonus reflected it. But more importantly, his identity changed. He stopped seeing himself as just an employee and started thinking like a builder. 8 months in, he took another step. Small, controlled, intentional. He started a side project. No announcement, no big risk, just applying what he already knew. Skills he had spent years developing, but never owning. Communication, financial insight, problem solving. 1 client turned into 2, 2 turned into 5. 14 months later, that side project project was generating $6,000 a month. The same number that once felt impossible to save was now something he could create. And the most surprising part? Nothing about his job had changed. Same desk, same company, same environment, but a completely different mind. He called the mentor again. There was one question he still couldn't shake. Why isn't this taught in school? There was a long pause. Then the man answered, because the system wasn't designed to create owners. It was designed to create workers. Reliable, skilled, educated workers, people who follow instructions well, people who keep things running. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you want more than a paycheck, if you want control, if you want to build something that's yours, that education, you have to give it to yourself. Here's the truth most people ignore. Formal education gives you a floor. It helps you survive. It gives you structure. But self-education, that builds your ceiling. That's what determines how far you can actually go. And most people spend their entire lives standing on the floor, looking up, wondering why they feel stuck. If you're waiting for someone to hand you the knowledge that will change your life, you'll be waiting forever. But if you take responsibility, even 10 minutes a day, reading, learning, thinking, questioning what you're told, and seeking what actually matters, everything begins to shift, slowly at first, then all at once. This is Wealth Thinker Club. Think differently, build differently,